Hello, and welcome to the Fast Forward Amy Show, the show where we talk about how you can live your life and business with simple strategies. I'm Fast Forward Amy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode every Tuesday. Yesterday, I was in a coaching call with some of my coaching colleagues in the mastermind I was in, and me and a fellow coachee, we were talking about resistance, procrastination, feeling overwhelmed, and what to do when all of that happens to you. And a lot of what she was saying were things I had been going through, so I am recording this episode for my dear friend, and I'll send it to her when it airs, and I hope she'll like it. And I'm recording some of my own experiences, some of her experiences, and a lot of my hundreds of clients' experiences, all about how you can crush through your resistance, your procrastination, and beat over all of that overwhelm you're feeling. I don't know how long this episode is going to be because it's fairly motivational. I'm going to cut through some of the beliefs that are holding you back and make sure that you can smoothly move through the resistance holding you back right now and just crush it in life and business. This is episode 72. That means that all of the notes from this episode and the links and resources can be found at fastforwardamy.com/72. And special today, normally I link a download to the episode that is very linked to the topic of the episode. So right now I would add a mindset download, but I'm not doing that today. I was thinking about resistance and overwhelm, and I thought, what do I procrastinate on? What do my clients procrastinate on? And often it is all about creating content and putting yourself out there. That is the real procrastination thing and the thing where we feel awkward and we struggle with perfectionism. So today I have created a video training for you to go along with this episode that you can go and download for free. It is namely my Spot On Stories training. It is a training where I'll teach you the 3-step formula to captivate your audience. I will give you story creating camera confidence, and I'll teach you the only app you'll ever need to create visually appealing stories. You can use all of that information to create, for example, Instagram stories, but you can also put it to use for other videos and things you need for your brand and to put your name out there and to build authority. If you want that free training, go to fastforwardamy.com/spot on stories or simply click the link in the description as always. Okay, you're procrastinating. You feel stuck. Everything feels yucky. And you're like, I'm not moving forward. And I've been in this haze of ness for the past few weeks. And it is a dreadful feeling. You don't feel good in your skin. You feel like you're not moving forward. You're experiencing massive imposter syndrome. It feels like nothing you do is right. Whenever something goes wrong with your partner, you might say, well, I can't seem to do anything right. When something bad happens, you're like, oh, why does this happen to me? You get angry at other people. You start blaming other people for what's going wrong. But you also feel this yucky feeling inside yourself. All in all, you feel yucky and things aren't going well. I guess that sounds familiar, and it might be going on right now for you in an area of your life. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be listening to this. What I want to ask you is, why are you feeling this way? If you've followed me for a while or if you've been in any of my coaching programs, you know I love the question, why? And I was taught by my coach many, many years ago, when I'm feeling yucky, I don't need to stay in my head because I'm a typical overthinker. A lot of the energy in my head is like centered in the forefront, like of my brain. I'm touching my face now, probably smearing all sorts of makeup on my hands. And I'm an overthinker. I think I should have t-shirts made like #overthinker or maybe a mug. And you might be like that too. So what my coach taught me many, many years ago is that I should ask myself the question, why do I feel like this out loud? Either out loud and talk to myself like in the car and just like, hey, why do I feel like this? Well, I feel yucky because blah, 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 and just like dump it out there. But what works even better is if you do it on paper. Now, you might not be a writing person or a talking person, and you might be that typical overthinker person, but that is a sign that you need to do it on paper. I love to do this exercise by just grabbing a piece of paper and literally writing on top of the piece of paper like, why do I feel like this? Turn off your phone, turn off all disturbances, and just start writing it out. And just like, vomit it out on the piece of paper and start figuring out how you feel. And at the end of it, you will probably come to a conclusion like, I feel overwhelmed. I have no clarity. I don't know what's next. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid I won't be able to do it. I'm afraid I can't. A lot of that will pop up. Like, I'm afraid I can't do it. I'm afraid I can't correct it. I'm afraid I won't be any good at it. I'm afraid no one will like it. I'm afraid I will suck. And I don't know what to do first. So a lot of overwhelm. Truth bomb, all of that stuff is called fear of failure. I've recently made a coaching mistake where I was talking to someone and it wasn't really a coaching call. It was just a conversation with someone. Really important, by the way, if you're having conversations with people about topics like this, when you ask them questions that go deep, like asking the why questions, is that you actually ask for permission to ask those questions. So always ask like, is it okay for you if I ask some more questions about this, if I go a little deeper? Make sure you have people's permission to do that. That's just a side note. So the truth bomb was, this is called fear of failure. And what I did a few days ago is I was starting a conversation with someone and someone told me like, yeah, and this is how I feel. And I was like, don't you think that's fear of failure? And she's like, no, it's not fear of failure. But I knew as I said it, like, because I positioned it like that, people will be like, no, it's not fear of failure. It's just other yucky feelings. But honestly, all of those yucky feelings we experience, on the bottom line, it's always fear or shame or like a combination of all of those things. We are afraid we won't be good enough. We are afraid we won't be loved if we fuck up. We are afraid we will fail. We feel ashamed that we failed in the past, so we won't try it again because then again we will experience this sense of shame, and shame is a horrible feeling. Fear, shame, dreadful feelings. And what is happening when you feel so paralyzed is that, well, your fear is paralyzing you. You are feeling overwhelmed because you are stuck in this space of inaction, this space of freeze where you're like, I can't seem to move on because fear is paralyzing me so much that I'm not even aware I'm experiencing fear. And this is why I won't take further actions. This is why I won't take decisions. This is why I won't fix my mess, because my body is literally paralyzing me. Literally. Your brain is paralyzing you, and that's why you need to do this exercise on a piece of paper, because writing it out, talking it out will make your body come into like an actionable flow, and it will get you out of that inaction. Because you can't unfreeze if you don't realize why you've frozen. It's like if you are heating up a microwave, or like the popular meme on Instagram I saw recently, a microwave, is that if you don't know, it's kind of like, if you don't know what you're baking, how do you know what temperature to put your oven on? Or if you don't know what you're unfreezing, how can you unfreeze it adequately? I'm sure, like, I only unfreeze foods the same way, by the way. I just let it unfreeze. But I'm guessing there are better ways to prepare your food, and that for different kinds of food, we need to know which different cooking methods we need for that. This was a terrible metaphor, but I'm gonna run with it anyway. So, if your fear is paralyzing you, you will stay frozen until you dig up what the root of that fear was. Or if you are just feeling paralyzed because you're overwhelmed, is actually what I'm saying. We need to find the root cause, the root fear, so that we can unfreeze you and we can put you back into action. Because when you are stuck in inaction, the only solution is action. Because there is a law, I think it's a physics law, that says objects in motion stay in motion. When you are frozen, nothing happens. When you are in motion, everything will start moving and you will start feeling better too. Now I'll tell you a little secret. That resistance that you're feeling to even look at those things, to even face what's going on, that resistance that you're feeling about your growth, that resistance that you're feeling, and that dreadful feeling you have about, why do I need to make these decisions? And sometimes you're like, yay, I'm a business owner. And sometimes you're like, fuck no, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? Believe me, I get it. I have gone through it many, many, many times. I will keep going through this. The secret I want to let you in on is that resistance that you feel, it's normal. That resistance that you feel is actually the key as to why some people are wildly successful and some people are averagely successful. Because it is looking at that resistance and being like, hey, resistance buddy, okay, let's do this anyways. I accept I feel resistance. I normalize this resistance and I will do it anyway. There are quotes, be afraid and do it anyway. Poop your pants, terrified and go for it. Let's just fucking go. Let's do it. Just do it. All these quotes, it's about when you are hit with resistance, with that wall of paralysis, because you feel resistance to move towards that next level, you have a choice. You have a choice to let it paralyze you and to stay in inaction and to literally freeze and just ground yourself with overeating and food and Netflix and just like numbing your brain with alcohol because it's a Friday night and you're paralyzed because of all the stuff you didn't do this week and you don't want to look at how you can fix it so that doesn't happen next week. You have a choice. Paralyze yourself, freeze. Paralyze, by the way, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Like, paralyze yourself is probably like a weird way to say it in English, but whatever, it's still not my native tongue. So you can freeze yourself or you can choose to fight with the resistance. And I don't mean against the resistance, because battling the resistance is futile. You need to lean into it. You need to uncover what is causing all of this resistance, what is causing all of this overwhelm, and then you need to start running with it. Because that is what separates the successful people from the unsuccessful people. That is what separates the good from the great. We eliminate our freeze and we go for fight. How are you going to do that? Well, you are going to be looking at doing things good enough. You're going to let that perfectionist inside of you go. And I always joke and I'm like, hey, I'm a recovering perfectionist, until I realized that, again, I was frozen. For example, with the interior design of my house, I have it. With the branding for my business, I have it. I see a pattern. I have it with stuff that I don't really know a lot about. And I'm like, I really want to do it well because it costs a lot of money. And if I change it, it needs to be perfect because I don't want to change it again within the year. And my website redesign, you know what? I'll just ignore the fact that I have a website and not look at it and Sound familiar? Stuff that I'm not amazing at. Things that scare me. Things that feel like, ooh, a lot of people are going to see it. Things that I feel like I should be perfect at it. Oops, should and perfect are already two like huge warning signs that this is a spot where you are procrastinating out of fear of failure because you're a big fucking perfectionist. You need to let it go. All of those things that you're postponing, it's time to focus on good enough. And not like your own good enough. I mean like your own good enough. So I will be like, well, I don't know if this style is good enough or if I like this logo or that logo. So I'll refrain from saying this because I don't know how to phrase that I don't like the logo. It's not even about, I don't know what my opinion is. It's about, how do I phrase this? Will I hurt someone's feelings? Maybe I need to think about it longer. Whereas if I would take 5 minutes to listen to my gut feeling, how do I feel? And then just tell that person like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Can you give me some other options? That would be fine, and it would have saved me months already in this branding process, for example. And in the past, I've had stuff like that happen with other things. So focus on delivering the message good enough. Focus on executing good enough. It's called the 80-20. Do it 80% good enough because that's all what you need. You just need to take the actions and you need to take the decisions. Because a lot of people, often the biggest bottleneck for ourselves in our business, in this paralysis situation, the freeze situation we are in overwhelm, is because we refrain from making decisions and we let them pile up and pile up and pile up, and we have all of the unanswered emails and we're like, ooh, can't make decisions because what if I make the wrong decision? You know what's a wrong decision? Not making any decisions. What separates good decisions from bad decisions? What happens afterwards? But what separates good situations from bad situations, or what creates opportunities and learning situations, is when you take decisions over not taking decisions. That sounded weird, so I'm going to rephrase this as a decision is better than no decision. Be that a good decision or a bad decision, it is better than no decision, because no decision teaches you nothing and causes overwhelm. A decision can either lead you to a win, or it can lead you to learning and having to adjust your steering wheel towards a better direction. No decisions literally get you nowhere because you are not taking action, aka you are frozen. So what we need to do if we are experiencing overwhelm, we just need to make some decisions. I'll give an example. Back at Christmas break, I was feeling very overwhelmed in our organization because I didn't have an overview, and I was waiting for someone else to make that, and it wasn't there. And then we were waiting for a new hire, and I was like, I really need this overview. And I was like, you know what? Instead of me spending a week and a half being annoyed that there's this icky feeling in my head because I don't have a grip on things, I'm just gonna create this placeholder that will act as my dashboard for the time being. That is my placeholder. We are now 2 months later at the time of recording this episode, and I'm still using that dashboard. It works perfectly fine. I probably spent like an hour on it instead of like a full day organizing our workflows and all of that shit. Spent like an hour on it. I was like, good enough, and now I have an overview in one spot of everything that is happening in my business. I just needed to make a decision to experiment with it, and that's how I treated it. I treated it as an experiment, not as something that is set in stone, and that is a great hack to do this. For example, my website hasn't been updated in ages. Our website is like, you might think like, oh, this website is a big example for me. We're like, ooh, we really need to do something about our website. SEO isn't optimized. Not any of that, because we've never really needed it and it wasn't a priority. Right now, honestly, it's really like, it's not even in the sphere of things I think about I need to do. And I won't be doing it, but someone on my team will be. But old Amy would have been like, I won't talk to anyone about it. I won't adjust anything, and I'll make like a big website redoing project. And I was like, hey, Joyce, member of my team, I'd like to see this and this and this adjusted on the way less than perfect websites. Instead of being like, I'll add that to a big fucking project, I'll like, can we just already adjust some of these things? It's an experiment. It's not set in stone. What has changed has been changed. What has been optimized, and other stuff will happen later. You will have certain areas of your business when you look at that dashboard of projects that you can make for yourself that are like very important. Other things will have to go. Other things will have to be good enough or less than good enough at times. A lot of our stuff, for example, we focus on excellent service for our clients. We focus on great coaching, all of that. We focused on being very consistent with our podcast. What we didn't focus on was actually growing our podcast like to a new audience, because that wasn't a focus. I hope in the near future that is going to be a focus, and then that will be the focus, and I know we'll be good at that. And some unicorns in the world, they're good at everything. They excel at everything. I'm not one of those unicorns. I've been working on my business for years and years, and I struggle with a lot of resistance sometimes. And I've had to learn that you can't win them all at the same time. You can win them all, but not at the same time. My coach Sarah once told me, like, you can have everything you want, sometimes just not at the same time. I believe you can achieve anything you want in life. I also believe that the type A people who want to do that, the very ambitious people, will also be the people who will procrastinate and overwhelm themselves out of perfectionism. And I want to just kindly ask you to let that go. Focus on doing it good enough. Look at what is your 80-20. What is the good enough here? Can you just let it go? Can you just adjust something but not redo your entire website? Place decisions over indecision, because it's the indecision that is keeping you there. So just make a list of decisions you need to make and put aside one morning or like even half an hour of your time to whack out as many decisions as you can and just make decisions, good or bad. A decision is better than no decision. Like how I'll do this is like, oh yes, a price for that program. I'll need to think on that. And then weeks later, my team is like, Amy, the sales page, the checkout pages, the systems, nothing can be done without the decisions of the price. And instead of me being, hey, this is the price, and maybe weeks later I'll be like, hey guys, can you adjust the price? But at least when the price is there, everything has already been tested, for example. You can always adjust later, but it's easier to work with decisions than waiting for decisions. And this is not just when you work with a team, it's also very, very true when you work with yourself. You can be your most exhausting team member. You can be your own biggest bottleneck. So what I would say is treat more things like experiments in your business. Nothing that you do right now has to stay like that. Treat more things like experiments in your life. Don't treat everything like it's set in stone. Focus on good enough and just make more decisions, and they can be bad. It's perfectly okay. All in all, action is power, and it is action that will move you forward, People say knowledge is power. Bullshit. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is fine. Knowledge is fun. If you know how many people know what to do but don't do it, true power, true success, true wealth comes from actually taking action, actually applying that knowledge to action or some other stuff that I was saying in this motivational rant. So, action is power. I hope that today you take massive action and that this year you will spend your time taking action with me. One of my biggest intentions this year is to make faster decisions. And that's why I'm focusing so much on this here. I let go of a lot. I was like, you know what? I'll hire this person. If it doesn't work out, I can still fire them. Nothing is irreversible. Nothing can't be changed. I am always the boss of my business and my destiny, and I can take control whenever I want to. When I am overwhelmed, I am choosing to stay there. I can also choose to get out of overwhelm, and so can you. If you're feeling overwhelmed right now, do the why exercise. Write down, why do I feel like this? Then take action on those things. My guess is you are lacking clarity, you are lacking overview. Even if you write your big projects out on a piece of paper, hang it on your wall, put it in front of your computer, just spend some time on that. My guess is carve out an hour or 2 hours without a laptop, without a phone, and write down all of your feelings and all the things in your head, and it will feel really good to see all of it on paper, and it will feel a lot less heavy if you actually see it. Okay? If you have been feeling resistance towards putting yourself out there as a personal brand, you've been waiting for the perfect time to create those Instagram stories, to put yourself out there. Maybe you're like, well, I can't make videos until I lose weight, or I can't make stories until I get better at talking on camera. You know what will help you talk better on camera? Talking on camera. So, on that note, if you want to get better at talking on camera and creating great videos, I hope you do want to do that because it's the number one amazing tool to use as marketing for your personal brand, for your business, to increase your revenue, to create connection with your audience. I've created a Spot On Stories video training that will help you with that. Go to fastforwardamy.com/spot on stories if you want to learn my 3-step formula to captivate your audience and you want to gain story creating camera confidence and also discover how to use the only app you'll ever need for visually appealing stories. The link is in the description and you can find everything we just talked about through fastforwardamy.com/72. Wow. Okay. It's like /72. This was the Fast Forward Amy Show podcast episode on mindset. I hope you really liked it. And if you liked it, please go and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or share it to your Instagram stories. Like just screenshot the episode, share it. I know you might think, well, I don't have a big audience, I don't have a big following, and all of that, yada yada. But you know what? I don't care about reaching millions of people. I want to reach you and one more person like you. So if you could get it out to one more person or send this episode to a friend who might benefit from it and just refer them to the Fast Forward Amy Show, that would mean the world to me. So thank you so much. Find me on Instagram as Fast Forward Amy, and talk soon. There's a new episode every Tuesday, so talk next week. Bye.